You go live for the first time at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday, because that's when you finally worked up the nerve, and because nobody in your life needs to know if it fails quietly at an hour when they're already asleep. 0 viewers, not 0 and climbing, just 0 the whole time, a little counter in the corner of your screen that never moves, while you talk into a webcam about a video game like there's someone on the other end listening. There isn't. You stream for 2 hours anyway, because quitting after 20 minutes feels worse than finishing something nobody watched. You do this 4 nights a week for 3 months. Most nights, 0. Some nights, 1 viewer, and you never know if it's a real person or a bot. But you talk to it like it's real because the alternative is talking to nothing at all. Chapter 1. 10 followers. It takes 11 weeks to get your first 10 followers. You remember every one of them because at 10 followers, 10 is a number small enough to memorize. You make $0. Less than 0 actually, once you count the webcam, the better microphone, the subscription to streaming software you didn't need to pay for, but did anyway because it felt like a promise to yourself that you were serious about this. Your roommate asks what you're doing up so late every night. You tell him you're streaming. He asks how many people watch. You say it's growing, which is true in the most technical sense possible, the way a puddle is technically growing when it rains. You don't quit. You don't fully know why. Some part of you just likes the 2 hours where you're not thinking about your day job, your rent, the specific tiredness of being 24 and unremarkable. The stream is the only place where you get to decide what happens next. Chapter 2. 100 followers. 6 months in, you cross 100. It happens on a random Thursday, no fanfare, you just refresh the follower count between rounds of whatever you're playing, and there it is. You screenshot it. You don't post the screenshot anywhere, because 100 followers isn't the kind of number you show off to anyone who isn't already inside the small, strange world of live streaming, where 100 followers might as well be 100 imaginary friends to everyone else in your life. Your income at 100 followers, $11 total ever, from a single generous stranger who dropped a small donation during a stream where you talked for 45 minutes about a horror game while eating cereal because you'd forgotten to eat dinner. You remember his username. You still remember it years later, the way you remember the first person who ever believed in something before it was believable. You start noticing a rhythm, not viewers exactly, but returning faces, usernames that show up more than once, people who seem to actually enjoy watching you specifically, not just the content. A woman named Raina comments almost every stream, sharp and funny, the kind of chat presence that makes other people stick around longer because her jokes are better than yours. You don't know her real name. You don't need to. In this world, the username is the person. Chapter 3. 1,000 followers. It takes another 8 months to hit 1,000. This is the chapter where things start to feel less like a hobby and more like a second job you're not being paid enough for yet. At 1,000 followers, you're making roughly $60 a month, mostly from small donations and the trickle of ad revenue that platforms pay out once you clear certain thresholds. $60 doesn't cover your streaming setup, let alone your time. You do the math one night, dividing $60 by the roughly 70 hours a month you spend live, and land on a number so small you don't say it out loud to anyone, not even Raina, who's become something like a friend by now, someone you talk to in the chat between streams the way other people text friends they've never met in person. Your day job starts to feel different. Not worse, exactly, but smaller, like a placeholder you're occupying, until something else becomes real. You catch yourself during meetings thinking about content ideas instead of whatever quarterly numbers your manager is presenting. You don't say anything about the streaming to your coworkers. It still feels too fragile to say out loud, the kind of thing that invites a specific look, half pity, half politeness, from people who've never sat in front of a camera talking to nobody. Chapter 4. 10,000 followers. 18 months in, you cross 10,000, and this is the chapter where your life actually starts to change shape. 10,000 followers translates to roughly $900 a month between ad revenue, subscriptions, and donations, which isn't quitting money, but is real money, the kind that covers a car payment or half your rent, depending on the month. You start treating the stream less like a hobby and more like a discipline. You show up on time. You plan content instead of winging it. You stop apologizing in your own head for caring about something that used to feel embarrassing to care about. Raina, your top chat regular for over a year now, finally tells you her name is actually Raina, not just a username, and that she's 26, lives 4 states away, works as a hospital administrator, and has watched almost every single stream you've done since the 100-follower mark. She tells you, almost offhand, that your stream is the calmest part of her week, that hospital administration is exactly as exhausting as it sounds, and that watching you play video games badly and talk about nothing in particular has become, unexpectedly, one of the more stable things in her life. You don't know what to do with that information, except keep showing up. Chapter 5. 100,000 followers. This chapter takes the longest. 2 full years pass between 10,000 and 100,000. 2 years of consistency that nobody outside streaming would understand as impressive, because from the outside, it just looks like doing the same thing over and over, night after night, waiting for a number to move. At 100,000 followers, your monthly income crosses $8,000, and this is the month you quit your day job. You do the math for 3 straight weeks before you actually do it, terrified of the version of this story where you quit too early and have to explain to everyone why you're back at a desk job 6 months later, tail between your legs, having bet everything on a webcam and a personality. You don't go back. The income holds. It even grows a little, month over month, as your audience settles into something less like strangers and more like a community with inside jokes and shared history. The specific intimacy that builds when people spend 2 hours a night, 4 nights a week, for years, inside the same small digital room. Raina flies in for your 100,000 follower stream. It's the first time you meet her in person, and it's strange in the specific way that meeting someone real after knowing them as a voice and a username for 2 years is strange. You do the stream together, both of you on camera, and it gets more views than anything you've ever posted. Not because the content is different, but because your audience has been quietly hoping for longer than you realized that the 2 of you were exactly what it looked like. Chapter 6. 1 million followers. 4 years after that first night with 0 viewers, you cross 1 million. You don't fully register the number when it happens. You're mid-sentence, talking about something forgettable, and someone in chat says it first. And you have to stop and actually look at the screen to confirm it's real. 1 million. The kind of number that used to exist only in stories about other people who felt fundamentally different from you, luckier, funnier, or better at this. Your income at 1 million followers isn't just enough to live on anymore. It's enough that money, for the first time in your adult life, stops being the thing you think about first every morning. Sponsorships alone bring in more in a month than your old day job paid in a year. You hire someone to help manage the business side, because at this scale, streaming isn't a hobby with a webcam anymore. It's an actual company with contracts and taxes and decisions that matter beyond just whether tonight's stream is fun. You think, sometimes, about the $11 from a stranger eating cereal, about the $60 a month that used to feel like nothing, about the specific terror of quitting your day job at $8,000 a month with no guarantee any of it would hold. You think about how none of the big numbers ever felt as strange in the moment as that very first zero, the 2 hours you spent talking to nobody because stopping felt worse than continuing. Rain is there for the million-follower stream too, obviously, because she's not just chat anymore. She's your partner, has been for 2 years now. Ever since that first in-person stream turned into something neither of you was expecting, but both of you, apparently, had been quietly hoping for the entire time. You end the million-follower stream the way you've ended almost every stream for 4 years, thanking whoever's still watching, telling them you'll see them next time. It sounds the same as it always has. It isn't, though, not really, because behind that sentence now is an audience the size of a small country, an income that would have sounded fictional to the version of you eating cereal alone at midnight, and a life built improbably entirely out of 2 hours a night that most people would have called a waste of time. You go live again 2 nights later. Same time, same chair, same webcam, upgraded a dozen times over the years, but still, fundamentally, doing the same thing you did on that very first Tuesday, talking into a camera, hoping someone's listening. Someone always is now. But you remember, clearly, exactly what it felt like when no one was, and you understand, in a way you couldn't have back then, that the difference between those 2 nights was never talent or luck or even the algorithm. It was just showing up again, the next night and the night after that, until enough nights had passed that 0 eventually became 1 million. Make sure to subscribe for more videos like this.